Hi, this is Tucker with a quick grammar video about using commas when you're dealing with compound sentences. Now, we use commas in lots of different ways, so this video is just going to focus on using commas when we're working with compound sentences. And before we can really dive into this conversation, it's important to know some of the language of grammar. So the phrase main clause is basically referring to a clause that has a subject and a predicate. And if you haven't had a lot of grammar, you're not real clear on the grammar lingo, the subject is the person, the place, the thing that is doing something in the sentence. Or it's the person, place, or thing that is being something in the sentence. The predicate is the part of the sentence that talks about the subject, and it's the part of the sentence that contains our verb. And it's important to know that a main clause can stand on its own as a sentence. So it has all the parts needed to create a complete sentence, the subject and the predicate. Now, a compound sentence is two or more main clauses that are pulled together in a single sentence. The example below has two main clauses. The first appears in blue and the second appears in green. And I've pulled them together to create a compound sentence. So the first main clause reads, "The girls played in a soccer tournament." We could end the sentence there. We have our subject, the girls, and what did they do? They played in a soccer tournament. So we have our subject, we have our predicate. It is a main clause that could stand by itself. But I've joined it with a second main clause. The second main clause reads, "The parents drank coffee and cheered on the sidelines." Again, we have the parents, our subject, and what did they do? They drank coffee, they cheered on the sidelines. So again, that could be its own sentence. But I've pulled them together to create a compound sentence, and you'll notice that I did that by using a comma and the word and. The word and is a coordinating conjunction. And coordinating conjunctions are like the glue that hold two main clauses together when you're building a compound sentence. And often when you hear the words coordinating conjunction, you'll also hear about fanboys. And fanboys is just an acronym that's supposed to help students remember what the actual coordinating conjunctions are. So it refers to the words for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Now, I've bolded the beginning letter of each of those words, and if you pulled those together, it would create the word fanboys. So it's there just to help you remember what the actual coordinating conjunctions you can use to pull compound sentence together, what those words actually are. Now, depending on the two main clauses you're joining, you may use one over another, depending on their relationship to each other. So if they kind of build on each other, you might use the coordinating conjunction and. If they're contrary or disagree, you might use the coordinating conjunctions but, or, yet. So in the example, the girls played in a soccer tournament and the parents drank coffee and cheered on the sidelines, I used the comma and the coordinating conjunction and because the two build on each other. And remember, you always put the comma before your coordinating conjunction. Now, as with anything that is grammar related in the English language, there are always exceptions. And so I would be remiss if I didn't point out that you can choose to omit, which means leave out. You can choose to leave out the comma when you have two short main clauses that aren't likely to cause the reader confusion. So for example, my friend washed the dishes and I dried them. This is a very short compound sentence. The first main clause, my friend washed the dishes. The second main clause, I dried them. They clearly have a relationship to each other, so I could choose to leave the comma out. You only need to use the comma when you have two short main clauses. If you're worried that pulling those two main clauses together might cause some confusion for your reader. Now that said, when in doubt, use the comma before the coordinating conjunction when you're pulling together two main clauses. All right, let's practice. So I have 5 sentences, and I want you to first read the sentences and think about which one is a compound sentence. So you can write out a C next to the sentences that are compound, and for those sentences, I want you to add the necessary commas to the sentence to make it a compound sentence. At this point, I would invite you to pause the video, write the sentences, label which ones are compound, and for those ones, add the necessary commas. Then you can start the video again. Okay, so here's the answers. In the first sentence, Mario played the guitar and the piano. We have 2 items, but we don't have 2 main clauses. Mario played the guitar is a main clause. We have Mario playing the guitar, that can stand as a sentence. But the piano is not a main clause, so we would not put a comma in there. It is not a compound sentence. The next sentence reads, we went to a movie and I really enjoyed it. We went to a movie could be its own sentence. It's a main clause. I really enjoyed it is also a main clause. So we're going to pull those together with the comma and to create a compound sentence. Students don't love homework, but it helps them develop important skills. Students don't love homework is a sentence. It's a main clause. It helps them to develop important skills is a main clause. And I'm pulling it together with the comma and the coordinating conjunction but. The next sentence reads, my parents and I argue over money and chores. My parents and I, obviously we have 2 different two aspects of the subject, but we don't have 2 main clauses that we're pulling together. My parents and I argue over money and chores. Even though you have money and chores, those again aren't separate main clauses. It's just a single main clause with different items. Olive was born in Ireland, then moved to England. Olive was born in Ireland is a main clause, but then moved to England is lacking that subject. So again, this is not a compound sentence where we would need to add a punctuation or a comma and a coordinating conjunction.